Good morning, Covent Garden speakers and guests. So would you like to live to be 100 years old?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
And would you like to live 100 years old, but be healthy and happy on top of that?
Yeah.
I think definitely yes on that one. So today I'm going to talk about how you can live to be 100 years old and be healthy and happy. First I'll talk about some studies which have been done to show the factors which allow people to live a long life and be happy and healthy. And the main factors will surprise you, I think, a little bit. It's not what we conventionally assume. Then I'll talk and discuss each of the different factors. And finally, I'll say, how can we apply these things in our lives? And I'll talk about how I personally applied in my life and how you can apply it in your life. So let's start with a study that was done. In Malcolm Gladwell's book, Outliers, he starts the book by giving an example of a story of this town called Roseto, Pennsylvania. And this town, there was a study done in the early 1960s. What they found was that no one under the age of 55 ever died of a heart attack in that town. And that was remarkable because in that time, heart disease was the most common disease in America, and pretty much everyone would have heart disease in their 40s and 50s. It was remarkable. This one town, no one actually died of a heart attack before the age of 55. So this doctor heard about this and he became quite intrigued by it. So he visited the town and he said, what could be the cause of this? And he said, is it their diet? All the people in the town, about 2,000, were of Italian descent. Is it because they had a Mediterranean diet? And actually, that didn't turn out to be the case. They actually used lard instead of olive oil. And in fact, 41% of their calories came from fat. So it wasn't their diet. They said, was it exercise? And he actually found out the people were actually pretty big smokers, and they all struggled with overweight, so it wasn't exercise. So he said, maybe it's their genetics. So he actually studied people from the same town in Italy who moved to other parts of the US. And he found their death rates were exactly the same as the American average. So it wasn't the genetics. So what could it be? So he was kind of scratching his head. And then he walked around the town and he realized it's because they had a very close-knit community. Basically, everyone would be at each other's houses. Often 3 generations would live within the same house. So there was a great deal of social cohesion in the town. And in a town of 2,000, there are at least 20 service organizations, and 85% of the people went to some sort of organization where they met with people. People would routinely go to each other's houses, have meals. And you realize that this was the magic sauce that allowed the people in this town to live long and well. And so basically it's a sense of community. Let me give you another example, is in Sardinia. If you go to the mountain village of Sardinia, the average life expectancy is well over 90 and over 100. So life expectancy in these villages in Sardinia is 20 to 30 years more than in mainland Europe. So the number of people that are live up to 100 are 10 times what you find in Europe. And so again, they went to investigate this. And again, the people have actually a fairly difficult life. They do farm, they live on the hills, they do farming, they do shepherding, so they don't have an easy life. But people routinely live to well over 100, and people are often working till they're 90. And again, when you go visit these towns, you again find the same thing, that they have a sense of cohesion, and people actually will look after each other, spend time together. People will say that, it's my honor to actually look after my older relatives. It's not a burden, but something that I really enjoy doing. And so a lot of people live to over 100. So again, they studied the same thing. It wasn't diet, it wasn't exercise, it was again social cohesion that was the result that caused this long life. So there was a study done by a researcher at the University of Arizona, and she actually looked at the reasons, what are the factors in staying alive. And if you look at the graph, you can see things like exercise is down here. You can see it's quite a small effect, lean versus overweight. But the 2 most important factors are close relationships and social integration. So that's really not what we conventionally think. as the reasons we all think about, okay, we need to exercise, we need to diet, but forget in this modern life, social integration and close relationships are very important. And so how can we do that in our everyday life? I think once we understand that how important they are, so social integration means just your everyday interactions, that you interact with people, interact with your neighbors, you interact with the shopkeeper, you interact with the people at work, you interact with people at your Toastmasters meeting. So that is actually the most important factor, even above close relationships. And of course the other thing is obviously you maintain your close relationship, and not by text, not by phone, what they're showing, you have to do it in person. And so that's actually the critical factor, is actually doing things in person. And so how can you apply this in your life? And one of the things what I've been doing this year is actually I've taken a sabbatical from work, and one of the things I'm doing, I'm organizing events and meetups and stuff like that. And I think that is a very good way of actually getting this social integration, to take the time to talk to people and interact with people, and also to meet the people that you're close to on a regular basis. So that's something we all can do. It's not difficult, but it's just, I think a lot of us just aren't aware of how